Hello everyone, my name is Isa Masharbash, the author of Go Back to Your Country or Stay and Defy All Odds. I'm so excited to be able to spend some time with you over the next 24 episodes to cover the 24 chapters in this book as a reader's guide. One of my friends, Dr. Joel Nunez, would quote one of his mentors, Dr. Betanzas, once in a while, and he would say that it's not about how many books you go through, but instead how many books go through you. And when I heard this several years back, it really impressed upon me the power of not only reading a book for informational purposes, but being transformed by a book and allowing the text to enter into your life, especially if it's some powerful readings that make you reflect, develop in your own personal life. You don't want to just read and look for the little nuggets. You want to be transformed by reading. So in doing this, what we're going to do over the next 24, 25 episodes together, what we're going to do is go through this book, and I will pose some questions for you to reflect on as you're reading the book. So the audience for these videos are people that already purchased this book, haven't read it yet, or people that are reading it, or if you read it already and you want to go through it again, that's cool. What I'm going to do is spend 24 episodes, one representing each chapter, and then there's an epilogue. We'll probably touch that in chapter 24, or maybe do a separate episode. We'll see. What we want to do is give the reader a guide to navigate through a story. And it's a pretty straightforward story. This is written at a 6th grade level English, so the majority could go through this pretty smoothly. But these videos will help you navigate some things that I want you to think about so that you could take someone's story like mine and extract out of it some things that you could transform in your own life. That's what we're going to do with chapter 1. What you'll see behind me, just in case you're not sure, it would be the chapter number. So in this case, it's chapter 1. And then the name of that chapter. So in this case, chapter 1 is called Go Back to Your Country, just like the title of the book. I'm going to give a short summary and some things for you to consider. When I wrote this book, I did not have chapter 1 figured out. I actually started somewhere around chapter 2 forward. Even chapter 2 had to have some alterations and eventually became chapter 2 before, in the initial manuscript, it was the beginning of the story. When I wanted to write this book, this is 3 years back when I started, I wanted to give a chronological order of some key events that happened in my life that formed me and shaped me, and I wasn't sure which angle to take. So it was a very big book, a lot of text, and I just kept going and going and going with stories and stories and stories and stories. And then it hit me after the first draft of the book that I need a title. And in search of the title, it hit me when I recalled a story in my preteen life when I arrived to the United States. When I remembered this powerful incident that happened in my life, it actually gave me the title of the book. Then it helped me reorder the book in such a way where you're going to see a situation that chronologically should be in the middle of the book, but you see in the beginning of the book. In this memoir style book that I present to you, in a memoir, you tend to take the most memorable, impactful stories. You're worried about how much detail is important. When is it too much detail? When is it not enough? But this story of this 12-year-old boy who comes to the United States, gets a job to help out his parents, and we see in the story that he has a bully type of boss, right? He has the type of boss that is, one, taking advantage of child labor, paying way below the minimum wage. And his boss has this ring that really marked this boy's life because this ring was used to punish this employee, this 12-year-old employee, every time he does something that is not up to par with his boss. An example would be the soda cans. If the soda cans and the drinks, if the logos weren't perfectly aligned when they were restocked, that would be punishment time with that ring. And we see this like very frustrating situation this 12-year-old boy is in, and we begin to feel terrible about this experience because we don't want this to happen to anyone we love or we care about. So what emotion do you feel? Why do you feel those emotions as you read about the boy and his relationship with his boss? Why is he even working at the age of 12? These are the questions you want to start to ask as you're digging through this book. At some point, this kid, he goes on to make this delivery, and on his way back, he gets jumped. So the boy's thinking, wow, this is about the money. They want to take my $40. Let me hold on to that $40, because if I get back to him and he doesn't have his $40, he will fire me. So the boy is under a lot of distress about this job. So important to this kid that he was willing to take a further beating than necessary because he was protecting his wallet or pocket better than protecting his face with both hands. And you want to ask, why was that important? As you're reading through this, you want to pause and reflect, why? Why was that an important thing? We learn that these people were not interested in the boy's money, but instead they wanted to send a clear signal. And that was that you don't belong here. Go back to your country. It was actually go back to your blank country. And this is what the kid is left with. He's at a hospital. He's trying to identify who did this. The person that did it is wearing a mask. Although the story is true, there's a lot of symbols that we could use as we're reflecting on the reading and extract value for ourselves. This story opens up the book, especially for such a controversial title, Go Back to Your Country. And then from there, the author goes ahead and starts to describe, who's that boy? Well, simple. How do I know so much about this boy? I was that boy, and my name is Isa. And then from there, I go ahead and I give a small explanation to why I wanted to write this book. And even in that explanation of why I'm writing this book, if you pay close attention and ask questions, why is he writing this? Why is that important to him? There's some important tangibles in there that you could extract out of the book. And that would conclude the first chapter before we go into chapter 2. So I want you to ask a number of questions. 1, why is this writing relevant to me? Why is this writing, this chapter, this boy relevant to me today in this day and age now? Why is that important? 2, how do I feel about the child? How do I feel about the child? How do I feel about the kids that beat that 12-year-old up? What emotions do I sense and make those come to surface? How do I feel about the boss that has that ring? How do I feel about immigrants? How do I feel about immigrants? What can I do in terms of getting this first chapter, few pages explaining that one story? How does that change my perspective of immigrants? And another question, if I am an immigrant, this applies if you are an immigrant or a child of an immigrant, what hope does it give me? What hope does it give me? I will be hanging out with you over the next 24 episodes to have that intimate time with you, going over the content in this book and helping you think of questions, reflective questions, where you could experience your own transformation through my story, because you have a story yourself. and a powerful one I could imagine. We want to maximize our use of reading and not just read to know, but read to be transformed.